with a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Tobago, Tobago. We're just at about 7 a.m. this morning. It's Thursday, the 4th of April, 2024. As we continue to give God thanks for life, I am Julian Skeet.
And I'm Adana Kambi. Indeed, this is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. What a privilege, what an honor to be here in the land of the living. As Julian said, it's April 4th, 2024. Yes, we have started the second quarter of 2024. Yes, we're heading on swiftly into this year, and all we can do really is give God thanks for life, give God thanks that we have loved ones we can celebrate and share memories and beautiful moments with. Julian, I feel as if I haven't seen you for an entire month.
I know, into that Easter mode. But viewers, before I even go further to chat about me, I've got to say I'm seeing that birthday glow on Adana. There must be things in store. Indeed, a blessed year ahead. Adana, how was the birthday celebration? Now the smile has gotten wider and the camera needs to capture this. The smile has certainly gotten wider this morning.
Julian, you are very, very mischievous. But the celebrations were really, really beautiful. You know, I always like to reflect on where I am and just to measure if I have achieved my goals and to set new goals. And so I took some time to do that. And of course, my birthday was on Good Friday, which was the time, of course, we celebrate Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So of course I invested a lot of my time in his presence, you know, being with family and all the activities that our churches do around this time. So that is what my birthday was like, and I felt so much love this year. I mean, every year I keep saying I feel more and more love, but this year I felt so much love from so many unexpected places. You know, people, they really look at us, even people from our viewers online. You know, I got some greetings from them, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who made my birthday extra special. Thank you, Julian, of course, for letting the world know that it's my birthday and how much
the celebration.
That's right, you know. So I just want to say thank you to everybody, and, you know, thank you for all the love and the support. And I really did have a beautiful birthday.
Indeed. And I also definitely, I know I'm a bit late with it, as Adana said. I wasn't here for a few days, and thank you so much. You know, it's always amazing when viewers are checking in and they meet you along the way. Everything okay? I didn't see you. What going on? Yes, all is well, and I am back by the good graces, and we want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you. I see on the live this morning, Julia Brown, good morning to you too. Good morning indeed, and thank you so much for the continued love and support coming from each and every one of you. We're going to chat a little bit about that entire Easter celebration here in Tobago, but before we head there, we head on over to news in 90 seconds.
Thank you, Julian and Adana. Here is your news in 90 seconds for Thursday, April 4th, 2024. Minority Leader Kelvin Morris yesterday reiterated the stance of the PNM regarding the Friendship Connector Road. He highlighted that the party is not opposing the construction, but accused the current THA administration of spreading misinformation among Tobagonians suggesting otherwise. Morris emphasized that the A&R Robinson International Access Road, initially named, was conceptualized in January 2021 to complement the new airport terminal in Crown Point. He clarified that the Strawberry Local Road would facilitate traffic flow from the airport until it reached the new road. This strategy was aimed to enhance both the Strawberry Local Road and the A&R Robinson Airport Access Road, improving Tobago's transportation infrastructure. Up next, leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots and former president of the Public Service Association, Watson Duke, received criticism for defying a court order during his tenure. High Court Judge Devendra Ramprasad imposed fines of $35,000 each on Duke and the PSA for contempt of the court. The matter was centered around financial irregularities and failure to hold a non-executive elections. Despite orders to hold an annual General Conference for budget approval, Duke did not comply before leaving office. Duke and the PSA are required to pay the fines by April 16th, with costs awarded to both parties. And finally, Minister of Energy Stuart Young met with Colin Bain, the Managing Director and President of Methanex Trinidad, to discuss operations in Trinidad and Tobago. During the meeting, Bain and Young discussed Trinidad and Tobago's strategic importance of Methanex's global portfolio, particularly its potential to supply domestic blended fuel market and global shipping markets. Young reaffirmed the government's commitment to partnering with Methanex and other stakeholders in the energy sector to attract international investments in Trinidad and Tobago. He also shared updates on the government's strategies and initiatives designed to enhance the country's energy sector. And that was your news in 90 seconds.
Very much there, Biana, continuing to bring us those highlights. And certainly this morning I wanted to take a few minutes, to quickly, we started chatting before, Adana, and then we dived on into the news, but to really extend a thank you so much. That support and that love from a number of our viewers. I had the opportunity over the course of the Easter weekend to meet up on a lot. In fact, before I could have heard Julian Skeet, I'm hearing Share the Live, which is a good indication. And I just want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you over the course of the events for the weekend. I try to ensure that I'm on the outside there to connect with each and every one of you and to bring the information back here. And certainly I want to send kudos this morning going out and congratulations. Indeed, a Dexter plant on the outside there. Hush, the event that took place on Easter Monday. Quite a celebration, and in particular, I've got to highlight Miss Annie in the mix, and that was the caterer assigned to Hush and working along with Dexter Plant and the entire team out there at Mount Irving. And I dare say right down to the very end, there were meals provided, and indeed very tasty. And if you know me any at all, an event for me is a combination of music, the food that it comes with, and of course those beverages from time to time to help things go down comfortably. But certainly an excellent experience there. And similarly want to extend our commendations also to Lemonade. That would have been a new event that got started this year with Stacey, and there I got to the latter part of that event. Certainly a grand time was had in terms of the music and the festivities, really sending that continued signal. And what was a standout for me among many other events that took place, the Easter Monday, Easter Tuesday activities and so on, was the fact that I particularly recalled moving from the Bacolet area, Adana, with the car show taking place in terms of the events there, motorsports and so on. Full, the highway, cars lined.
Fully supported.
Reaching down in the vicinity in Scarborough, in the amphitheater, Arise. My daughter and family, they would have gone to Arise and on full. Scarborough is lined with cars, full attendance once again. Heading to Shaw Park again.
That's right.
Another event taking place. The area is lined with vehicles. Impressive at that. And when you thought that was enough, heading straight on to the estate for Rumbum. Well done, Quincy. Excellent event. Well done, Quincy Trim out there and the entire DXL team. Yes, folks, I ensured that the Easter was a very full and packed lineup so that we could come here to give you all the highlights on Tobago updates. Well done, Quincy Trim. And again, another successful event. Even if people thought that the weather would have hampered things altogether, not at all, most definitely, and an enjoyable experience, at Rumbum, down there at the estate, DXL promotion. Excellent job, and I want to say keep up the great work. Certainly, the entertainment industry is alive and well here on the island in Tobago, and I dare say quite a successful and enjoyable Easter weekend celebrations. And clearly, there had to be a good attendance in Tobago for all these events simultaneously to be making those numbers. I want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you, and I can't forget very quickly before I get into any more trouble here on set. Along the way, Tyrone Gray out in Miami, visiting here in the mix. David Reed, I want to shout out each and every one of you. They stopped me in the middle of the events to remind us that they view Tobago updates and they view the morning show. They tune in when they're out there in Miami, busy on the highways and byways. Thank you so much. And you know, as loyal viewers, we want to say we continue to appreciate each and every one of you here in the mix. Adana, we're heading on into our birthday shout-outs.
Right,
our birthday shout-outs.
And on screen and celebrating a birthday today is Alex Brong. Alex Brong is celebrating a birthday today. And Alex, we want to wish you a very happy birthday coming to you from all of us here at the Tobago Updates television channel. We want to wish you all the very best and we pray God's blessings upon your life. Right, next we have Miss Dixie Ann Burnett. Dixie Ann Burnett is also celebrating a birthday today. And we want to say happy birthday to you, Dixie Ann. We pray God's blessings upon your life and we do hope that you have a wonderful and beautiful birthday as well. God bless you and do enjoy your birthday.
And we got one of those special birthdays in the mix.
That's right.
She hasn't sent us the photos, but don't worry, we'll make up for that. But certainly we want to take that time out to recognize Pearl Murray Baird. Faithful viewer here and supporter of Tobago Updates. We want to say thank you so much for continuing to choose Tobago Updates each and every day. And she doesn't just tune in, she makes sure to add her comments. Her comments are in the mix. We want to wish you the very, very best to send you that continued love, and we trust that you have a great and enjoyable birthday celebrations. And given that it's Thursday, I'm giving you permission to take it straight into the weekend. Let's celebrate. Let's certainly celebrate life. Thank you so much, Pearl Murray Beard on the outside. They're continuing to celebrate with us. And very quickly also want to highlight Suzette James in the mix, loyal Tobago Updates viewer, met her at Mount Pleasant activities, and we want to say thank you so much. Don't worry, I'm gonna get all those names as we go along for the rest of the week, probably into next week, but thank you so much to each and every one of you. Just as I expressed in person, we thank you so much for your continued love and support. Adana, who do we have on the rundown this morning?
Of course, you know, we always have interesting conversations on the morning show and we love bringing the information to you. And this morning we start our conversations with Mr. Curtis Douglas, and he is the president of All Tobago Fisherfolk Association, and we're speaking about the oil spill, Tobago oil spill update, and have the fish returned. What an interesting topic this morning. We also speak with Ambassador Nikosi Phillips. TT Youth Will Rise, and we're talking about the 68th session of the Commission on the Status of Women. Another interesting conversation, of course, we're going to be having this morning on the morning show. And then we end our conversation speaking with Kyle Joseph. Kyle Joseph is a goat owner and a trainer, and we're talking about Good Friday Goat Races review. Goat racing after the Easter 2024 review. They are giving us all the updates of the things happening around Easter, as we did, of course, our traditional goat racing. This is indigenous to Tobago, not even Trinidad and Tobago. It's only Tobago where we do goat racing. So of course we want to have that conversation with him. Very interesting topics here this morning on the morning show on Tobago Updates Television. So of course we want you to stay with us while we go through these discussions and get the information as we share all that we have with you for today's show. And before we go, of course, we have to take a short break while we get our guests ready. And to do this, of course, we want to invite you to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Hey, hello guys, welcome. Come have a seat. Oh, this is so stylish and I love the fabric. Darlings, you must tell us where you got your new furnishings.
We got them locally at Standard. They've got new chic European furniture, crafted from high quality material.
Oh, Standard?
No, it's Standard, their brand new Hive collection.
Experience luxurious European furniture at a price you will love. The Hive collection, now exclusively available at Standard.
You're the prize, you're the queen.
Deltec Distributors, best deal. 3 pounds pork, goat, chicken, turkey, B5 meats, 3 pounds each, $300. Best deal. Or you could try 5 pounds pork, goat, chicken, turkey, B5 meats, 5 pounds each, $500. Best deal. $20 delivery. Call winner 359-5040 or 237-0102. Order online at www.deltecdistributors.com or check winner Main Road, Argyle, Tobago. Deltec Distributors, best deal.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning.
Good morning, viewers. We're just at about 7:16 a.m. and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. I'm Julian Skeet, and in this segment we are chatting with Curtis Douglas, president of the All Tobago Fisher Folk Association. Good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning to you, Julian. And you know how I always start this program? Share the life.
Share the life. Indeed, indeed. And you know, as we head on into the discussions, we know that some time has passed now, most certainly, since we had the circumstances here with the oil spill. And I know we had some earlier conversations with the status just up to about a few weeks ago. Tell us, where are we at this point?
All right, we're at a point right now. Before I even get into that, you know, Adana, happy birthday! Shout out from the All Tobago Fisher Folks to you. And, you know, shout out to your brother birthday, which is tomorrow as well. You know, from the All Tobago Fisher Folk and from the Tobago community, we share the love and we share the life. Straight out to you. Happy birthday to you and your team.
Certainly is. I think we have to bring Curtis in here as a guest host as well. Yeah, we heard, and you know, just to add to the question, we heard the Chief Secretary over the course of the Easter celebrations making mention of the fact how the weather might have had certain impacts in terms of where, you know, the oil and the spill may have come inland within the circumstances, and really trying to, of course, avoid and to mitigate as best as possible those challenges with returning in any way, form or fashion heading back out. Tell us a little bit about that and where we are, particularly some of the work and efforts that might have gone into this weekend.
Julian, to be frankly, for the public who are not taking, you know, data, this is 57 days since that incident would have happened, from the 7th of February to now. And from the 7th of February to now, to the 4th, we would have made a lot of improvement in the terms of bringing back some form of stability in certain areas. So now we are at the phase whereby Tima and his team and the entire team, led by Alan Stewart, and they are now concentrating on basically trying to bring back things in portion. So you will find, you would, over the next couple of days or weeks, you would see, well, okay, they will say it's okay, it's safe now for Lambo to bring back. And when you look at I Love Tobago, you remember the state, I don't know if people would have recalled the state and the condition of one of the attractive sites in Tobago right now that it was in. And it was really, really infected by the hydrocarbon. And when you look at it now, you could see that move from phase 2 to phase 1, if we look at it at that, how we number it, right? So you find I Love Tobago have a bit more clarity, and as you go along, you're gonna find Lambo, then you're gonna find Petit Chou, then you're gonna find Cano Bay, and then you're gonna find, you know, Cove, all of these vicinities. So the 15, if the hectares of land of direction were being affected, I think they are proportionally phasing it out. But I want Tobago people to also remember that once that boat is in the water, because we would have met yesterday with Penelope Beckles and also the Tobago West representative, Ms. Ayana Webster, right? No. Right. What's her name?
Shamfa Kojo, that's the Member of Parliament, yes.
And Minister of Parliament Penelope Beckles.
Yes.
And they would have expressed their concern with the fact that still, even though we would have made such a mammoth achievement so far, given the time frame in which we did it, there are still some major concerns by that vessel being there, because as it stands, there are still oil to be retrieved from the vessel. So we're talking about something like about at least 5,000 or 3,000 barrels still of crude or hydrocarbon still to be taken out of the vessel and to reposition, whether they are going to send it back to Trinidad to be refined, because that hydrocarbon or oil that is, or they call it bunker fuel, is also valuable. It worths money. So now they have to define how they're going to do it, because you don't want to mix contaminated fuel with good fuel. So now we are now at that stage where we're going to take the contaminated fuel and put it in a separate cage, right? And also be able to send it back to Trinidad. I don't know, that decision really will be up to the Chief Secretary and his team, what decision they're going to make for Tobago. But as it stands, the boat is still there and it's not leaking presently. Well, the drone didn't fly, so I have no information whether it is flown today or not, and the fishermen haven't gone out to inspect the booms and them as yet. So, but I know as of yesterday, the boat was not leaking. But what you find is occurring is that when the rain came down, you find some of the mangroves and all of these oil bunker flows in there, it's been flushing, so it's coming back into some of the sea. So they are now trying to take it up. But Tobago is still at an emergency stage, because a bad weather, a overturn, and oil could be leaked out into the atmosphere. So now we now have to try to be able to control that.
So I want to get, and you know, one of the things you mentioned, and that's one of the areas I certainly want to discuss, the vessel is still there in terms of lodge. And I know, of course, this requires the input and the involvement, particularly of central government as well. Are we seeing the steps being taken in that direction, connectedly between the THA, TIMA, the other state agencies, central government, to get us to that point where, you know, we can actually treat with the physical vessel itself? What's the ultimate intention? Because it's good that it has stopped leaking, and we hope that certainly that is all there is to come out of the vessel under the circumstances. But what would be considered the next logical steps in this matter? What should we anticipate, you know, down the road?
All right, so that the public will understand what we have right now. What stage we have a company that was sent by central government, which is called T&T Salvage. They are the one that are right now are leading the role in pumping those hydrocarbon out. So they are the one to be able to do the salvage operation. Now, a salvage operation, to do, don't know, is where they're not looking for life anymore. They're just looking to contain and to break up, retrieve, and to move. So they are right now have the responsibility, right, of pumping out those fuel and also cutting that boat and make sure whatever other finding beside hydrocarbon, because we don't know what is inside that boat. So they have the responsibility. The only problem we face is that we don't have enough, in my views, from where I sit, Tobagonians or fisher folk in the active to ensure to see directly on a day-to-day basis what is going on. So we have a bird's eye or eagle eyes view on what it is, because by the end of the day, we have to mind our business. But in terms of central government input, the meeting yesterday with the two ministers and the chief secretary and the IMA and the EMA and the fisher folk, that went on. So they are offering their services, they are collaborating. But one of the main things that we are not seeing, so I'm hearing people making little noise that, you know, the chief secretary and this, the chief secretary would have announced that they didn't receive any funding from central government from this. It's been 57 days, and at least some form of something should happen to have that going, given it was a national disaster. So I don't want people to think, well, the chief secretary, Mr. Chavez, in this. Mr. Chavez hasn't gotten the assistance from central government in that terms of finances. But in the terms of the professional expertise, the central government would have sent up T&T Salvage and other contractors, Heritage, to ensure to help. But what I'm saying, we need our people here on ground, because it is in our zone, and we have a right and a vetted interest to mind our business, not only to see what's going on, but also to learn from these operations, because this is something that was not planned. And Tobagonian must be prepared for the unforeseen circumstances that we are undergoing right now in Tobago in terms of an oil spill or gas spill. Now, the reason why I'm alluding to this or expounding so much on this, Tobago is saturated in natural gas and oil. Today is an oil spill. Tomorrow could be a gas leak, and a gas leak is more devastating than an oil spill. With a gas leak, it kills everything in sight. So that and all have to be sought out. And also in the terms from the fisherman point of view, I will have to support deliver at least by Wednesday the financial study and data based on losses of fishermen, because what I would have seen so far from my investigative team of ATFA investigative team, so far we would have recorded at least 12 boats engine that was damaged because of the hydrocarbon. It clogs the impeller, and impeller stop the engine itself, for those who know about engine, from overheating, and then it damages the pistons and damage the block, so it mashes up the engine. But I don't want people to come and say things, but we have our team investigating, so we are at the final stage of the investigation of submitting those documents to the chief secretary, right? To the chief secretary, so they have now a overview of how it, what was the cost, what is the cost factor for the fisher folk. So not only the fisher folk, we also have to submit to the downstream provider, which is the vendors, how they were affected and how much we have to submit. So I'm saying, people, when I submit this report, my duty is to submit the report and submit the findings of this hydrocarbon destruction.
And then we deal with where there would be some levels of compensation, because I know that has been spoken about at the level of the THA as well as at the level of central government in terms of providing some kind of support in the circumstances. But I think it's a step in the right direction, Curtis, in terms of providing the report so that the information is available, and then determining the way forward, so that, of course, the members of your association, which have certainly been affected, would also. Well, we'd certainly look forward to further discussions by the time that report has come out, in terms of giving a sense of what the real circumstances and the financial impact in particular. We're in the final 30 seconds just before we close. Your hopes and aspirations and the hopes of many in terms of bringing this matter eventually to a closure. Do you anticipate some more weeks to go, some more months to go, another year? What do you anticipate?
Yesterday, a conversation came up and asked, how long again this have? Now, the professionals who would have been from outside that came in were saying, you know, this thing really will cause next 6 months. But I cannot put a timeline on this, because I might be here and say next 6 months, 4 months, and then it might end up to be a year, given the fact from the site visit and the internal visit that I would have done. It may be longer than 6 months or 7 months. So I'm saying we have to be mindful. But my main concern, Julian, is to bring back Tobago to its original glory, or even better than it was, so that we see the fauna will be able to grow. The more the baits now start to come back into the area. I know that will take some time, but these are my futuristic expectation of these kind of operation. Right? And before I go, I want to say big up to all the power boats in Tobago. So big up to your old dog, big up to your all of the power boats, Miles, who would have entertained in Scarborough and all over Rolo. Big up to you, Mr. Koshi, to your team, the Castara team, the Plymouth team, the Palatavia team. Big up to you all for making Tobago still one of the most exciting places and one of the greatest places to come for Easter and all your holidays. So thank you, guys.
Excellent. Thank you very much there, Curtis Douglas, president of the All Tobago Fisher Folk, continuing to bring us those updates. And I want to say commendations in particular, to the members of the All Tobago Fisher Folk Association for getting involved at this level, even as they continue and, that they have incurred losses. And I am certain it's safe to say that while Curtis and the team may be willing to continue to work for the next how many months and the next how many, even if it goes to a year, they certainly may not be willing to wait that long to get some kind of compensation compensation or support to help the members of the association. But thank you very much for bringing us the updates here this morning on the Tobago Updates Morning Show. And viewers, as we prepare to head on into our next interview, we head on out to a break, and we want to remind you that this is your opportunity, and I'm certain, Curtis, you will join in with me. This is your opportunity to
share the life, share the life, share the life.
Hello everyone, it's your boy Harry here from Authentic Car Clinic, located right here in Tobago at Storby Local Road. You can WhatsApp us or call us at 366-4173.
It's March Madness at Standard Distributors Limited. Get $100 back for every $1,000 you spend. Major appliance deals on Frigidaire, Hyacinth, Samsung, and more. Plus, same-day financing options available. Don't miss out. Sale ends March 31st. Standard, never beaten on quality and prices.
Fellow citizens, I am Joy Abdul Mohan. Many years ago, we declared through our constitution our desire to live in a democratic society with respect for the law, supported by public institutions that respond to our needs. A strong constitution must be relevant to every citizen, including children and the youth. We've heard about reform before. Let us speak out now and make it happen by submitting our views to constitutionalreform2024.gov.tt by April 15th. It's our future, our constitution, our voices.
Scrub Ties brings to you our organic fat dissolving shots. Yes guys, our lemon butter shot breaks down stubborn fat, tightens any loose skin while increasing your metabolism. No side effects, no downtime. We also offer cavitation, cellulite treatment, butt, breast, hip dip fillers, weight loss, fertility IVs, and much more. Contact us on 495-6624 or follow us on Instagram at Scrub Ties Body Contouring.
JK Tech, we bring technology to your doorstep. From cutting-edge laptops to reliable printers, we've got it all. Nationwide delivery and a new website for easy online ordering. JK Tech is your one-stop shop for your electronics and computer needs. Carrying top brands such as Acer, Samsung, HP, and much more. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at JKTechTT or visit jktechtt.com. Quality tech is just a click away. JK Tech. Evaluate your shopping experience, your tech, your way. Call or WhatsApp 383-2651. Shop smart, shop JK Tech.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show on Tobago Updates Television. I am Adana Kambi and it's now 7:34 a.m. So remember, if you're getting to work for 8, you still have a few minutes. Get there safely. Remember to practice road safety on our nation's roads. Be mindful of other drivers and pedestrians as well. All right, we continue conversations this morning in studio with our guests, and this morning we're speaking with Mr. Kyle Joseph, and he's a goat owner and a trainer, and we're talking about the goat racing for Easter 2024. We want to get an update and your reviews as to how this year was in relation to all the other years. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, good morning.
Right, so tell us first and foremost a little bit about yourself as a goat owner and your involvement in the goat racing around Easter time.
Alright, so I was introduced to goat race from my uncle by just looking on. It used to have a goat race in Storby once, and I tried it. But younger, I used to see about, I'm a farmer for today, but I used to see about my uncle animals. So I used to be running the sheep and them, you know, and it always used to be like, stop running the sheep. So I had the opportunity to really try goat racing with my uncle, and then I was successful at it.
Okay, and of course you enjoyed it because you tell me you were running the sheep before, so it's something you enjoy.
Yeah, I used to run in the sheep. And
okay, so that's a very long span. About how many years have you been involved in this, would you say, if you could estimate it?
From the age, so I born my uncle, I grew up seeing my uncle doing it, you know, so maybe I'll say 40 years.
Wow. So you have good experience in the goat racing thing. You know, sometimes we just see people racing the goats and we think that is an easy job, but you could run and you have a guide, you could race this goat. So tell us about how technical this goat racing thing is, because I'm very interested in this to see how you are able to manage this goat and to control the animal to ensure that they run in the direction you want them to run in.
Alright, so it could start off by just the hooves. So if you don't clean the hooves properly, it's like you're walking in a high heel shoe and half of it on one side. So if you don't clean the hooves properly, they wouldn't step properly. So you'll find they don't want to walk much because it's not level. So they'll be walking on one side. So that is just one part of it. Selecting the animal. So for me, I'm a breeder. I don't buy. I have animals. So I do my own breeding. And so it starts with the breeding, then it starts with, you have to try to walk them straight, let them learn to walk straight, let them learn to walk up to the box. So you'll notice that when the goat race, you will see some guys have to take another, I would call it a pilot or another goat to make the other goat walk up. It's because the goat not that experienced, it's because it's not accustomed to the crowd. So you have to teach them to walk, teach them to know the crowd. So I lost the race just by the goat coming down, and then after you see a pink jersey and he just run on the next side, you know. So you have to teach them all these little things. You have to teach them to swim.
But how do you, this is so interesting, how do you teach an animal to be accustomed to a crowd, or to be aware that a crowd is there, but focus on the mission, which is to win the race, or just run in a straight line?
For some reason, goats are different from sheep. They have a better memory. So if you keep on overdoing it over a point in time, they'll get accustomed to it. But to say to get accustomed to the crowd, it is just a personality thing with the goat, just like me and you. Know? Because I have a big goat, he's very experienced. But for some reason, when he see crowd, he just start to get very nervous.
Wow.
You know?
Wow, this is so interesting, because sometimes I'm just thinking that all we have to do is to train this animal to run. I know you're talking about from the breeding process, training them to be in crowds, training them to be focused, even cleaning their hooves. I didn't even think about all of these things, so I'm happy that you're bringing this information to us now for us to have this level of education. So for over the 40 years that you've been involved in goat racing, and this year, what are your comparisons in terms of what was the experience like for you coming up to this period, and even this year, what was it like for you in terms of your participation and the participation of new goat owners and runners in the race? Are you seeing an increase in involvement? How has it been over the years?
So I will go to meetings and I will speak out loud that I will see things that in the last 20 years, things that haven't been changed, like the price structure. We have a bigger facility, and I'm speaking on behalf of the goat owners and trainers. We have a bigger facility and we can't use the facility as much as we want to use the facility, you know. So for me, I will see it's a big decline where goat racing is concerned, because we bring the people to the park, and I'll speak openly again. Mount Pleasant, it was a sports day and family day. It wasn't even mentioned. Goat racing, you know, it wasn't even like marketed as goat racing, and if the goats don't come, there is no goat racing. So it have a lot of things could change. Leading up to the goat racing in Boko, we didn't get to use the track. Nobody didn't speak about that. The track was locked off, for maintenance. They say it was maintained for maintenance wise, but that was the only goat racing track. I have my own goat racing track now, so it was forced. I was forced to at least try to have my own goat racing track, so I wouldn't go through that. Because the last 3 weeks, some of us didn't even get to train the goats.
Wow. So these are some of the challenges that you all are experiencing as goat owners and racers of the sport. Luckily for you, as you said, you have your own
goat race track. That's when I keep the goat race on Good Friday. So,
wow. And now training the goat on your own track and bringing it into the arena now for the racing. Was the goat familiar with the track, or how did that work out for you?
It is one of the most important things is basically getting the goats up to speed in terms of fit. And I would say we're going to take a gamble. Because why I say take a gamble as well, because there's only 2 goats racing for the year, so it's basically a gamble. So you just have to go down there and hope that all is good and the goat runs straight and doesn't get distracted.
Right. And what have your relationship been like with other goat owners or even persons who, I know you said there's a decline, but have you heard about any interest from other people wanting to participate in this sport and having challenges, and how would you advise them to get involved in the sport and even to overcome the challenges? Because even though you have challenges, you still raised your goat, which means that you have managed to overcome that hurdle. For now at least, until we can get some measure of resolve for all the other races as well. How do you advise somebody who wants to start into this sport?
To be honest, financially it doesn't make sense to the goat owners because we only race twice a year. We can't let go the goat, so the goat we always have to be cutting feed for the goat. So for new people who come in or on why it's not having a decline, because a lot of people find it's not making sense, so it's just a traditional thing we carrying on still, because it doesn't have nothing for farmers to say to do to come together. So we use goat races as one of those ways to come together as a family day. But to say that it making sense, I don't think it making no sense
financially. But how important is it to maintain the tradition and also to pass on the legacy, even if you're not making financial gains, which is something we could discuss at another discussion for another time? How important is it to maintain the tradition? How important is it for us to hand down this tradition to generations who are upcoming? Because we realize that for some of our traditions and our culture, we've been losing the essence of it because of probably the same issue or other issues. And so we want to maintain that level of tradition. Is it more important to maintain the tradition, or is it more important to say, listen, there's no financial gain here, so I'm hanging up my hat, my goat isn't racing anymore, and I'm not going to be taking care of this goat, and just keeping it for racing purposes?
It's expensive. It's expensive to carry on the tradition. So for instance, I saw the sheep fan guys on them linemen under the paddock, and I know they're linemen on the paddock because they're waiting for the guys who didn't place, who didn't make anything in the races, so they're going to sell the goats. Because if you don't place, as much as you see all the goat owners, a lot of them go home with nothing. Nothing.
So this is a good opportunity here now for you to make a plea for, corporate Tobago, for all the stakeholders to come on board and to do some measure of revision in terms of how are we going to make this event, or for the goat owners to be profitable in one way or the other. How are we going to ensure that it is something that they want to continue doing, something that is enjoyable, not only enjoyable but also has some kind of returns on it? So now is your perfect opportunity for you. I'm giving you that 30 seconds there to put in that plug, to appeal to whom it may concern to come on board with you, to join, to ensure that we can have some measure of returns where this is concerned.
First, it starts with us. It starts with the Goat Race Association. I think we should come together as goat race owners. And I could only speak for myself, but it have other guys who will just do it just because. So I'll just like the goat owners and the Goat Owners Association to come together. When we negotiate for a better goat race, a better Tobago, because thousands of people was in the stands, and we are the goat owners, and we don't even get even 1% from the door. So things like that, it's just simple stuff. At least the goat owners go home back with something, so at least we could keep the prices the same, and work on some sort of percentage at the door, because as much as a guy doesn't win, he still puts on a show, and he puts on a show because we have to pay entries as well. And paying entries, $600 in entries, and go back home with nothing, we still at a loss, although we carrying on the show. So first it starts with the association. We could come together and then we could plead our case. So for me alone, I wouldn't say for, I like the association, the president, and so on them to come, at least come and bring forth. But I just my little knowledge of what's going on in goat racing.
Okay, and goat racing is something that we do enjoy here in Tobago, and we take pride in this, as I mentioned in our discourse earlier, that the goat racing is really indigenous to Tobago. There's nowhere else on the planet that I know of that they race goats, and so we want to maintain that tradition here in Tobago. So whatever it takes, all the arms come together to ensure that the races are more profitable for all those who participate and engage, and that they can see some measure of returns. Thank you so much, Mr. Joseph, for coming on the show this morning and for bringing information. Thank you for your passion in racing goats, and of course speaking to the issues that you face. And we do hope that resolve will come and that we are able to continue this annual tradition of goat racing here in Tobago during the Easter period. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we end our conversation with Kyle Joseph this morning, but we continue on later on with our next guest. And of course, before we do that, we have to take a short break. And when we take a short break, what do? Invite you to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
It's March Madness at Standard Distributors Limited. Get $100 back for every $1,000 you spend. Major appliance deals on Frigidaire, Hyacinth, Samsung, and more. Plus, same-day financing options available. Don't miss out. Sale ends March 31st. Standard, never beaten on quality and prices.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show on Tobago Updates Television. I am Adana Kambi, and we continue conversation this morning with our guest, and we're speaking with Nikosi Phillips, TT Ambassador for TT Youths Will Arise, and we're speaking about the 68th session of the Commission on the Status of Women. Good morning, Nikosi, and welcome.
Good morning to you. Good morning to you, the host. Good morning to Tobago. Good morning to Trinidad by extension. And I must say good morning to Switzerland and the international countries that are looking on at Tobago Updates right now for this interview.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, and welcome to everyone who is viewing this morning. How has it been where you are there, participating in this convention? What is your position and what is happening? We just want a few updates. First of all, we want to know what this convention is all about. Let's start there.
Okay. Well, for everybody knows, since 2018, I've been attending this conference was the 68th session of the Commission on the Status of Women and Young Girls. It's a conference that all NGOs around the world, all leaders around the world come to the United Nations. There's the United Nations events and there's the parallel events. This year I led a small delegation to the parallel events to partake and to foster a relationship with all the NGOs, and we meet up with some high profile officials, and it's about gender equality, it's about feminine equality, it's about learning about, the equality between men and women, the rights of women, the different meetings that we went to abroad. So it's a wide spectrum of laws that women face around the world with your reproductive rights, your right to marry for forced child marriages, all these things. And the delegation and I led that team, and we would have done excellently well at the United Nations. So that is what it's all about. And persons who would have known about it know that, this is a conference I go to every year, but this year I decided to take on the mantle with the team itself so they can see what I have been doing, the amount of meetings per day, 13 meetings per day. I am glad that the team that I led to the conference, they were able to see how I managed 13 to 20 meetings per day and had to run from meetings to meetings.
Right, this song's very engaging. Some of the things we want to talk about is what are some of the topics? I know you mentioned a large group of topics. Well, for this year and this particular session, what topics were you engaged in? And what are some of the outcomes of the discussions you've had?
Okay, well, I was invited by Pink Africa Foundation, that's a Nigerian team, to speak on the tech table. I was a speaker for gender equality, feminine equity, financial equity, and the call for girls on their, I think it's cycle or something. And then one of the other delegates would have spoken on gender-based violence. And after my presentation and our presentation, just the presentation alone and the introduction of Trinidad and Tobago, here in Trinidad and Tobago, because they did not know that there was a Tobago. A lot of them said, well, where is Tobago? We never heard it. It's Trinidad. Just by that, we hit the ground and listen. As soon as my presentation was finished, that was it. We were introduced to speak at other meetings. We would have gone to different meetings, and some of the topical. We went to a meeting where they had poverty alleviation, which is the empowerment of girls through financial literacy, where they teach girls how to, manage money from the beginning to end, how to do businesses. We went to a meeting where is no woman left behind. That's an Australian meeting. No woman left behind, closing the gender inclusion gap in the eye health. We also went to a meeting called the Buddha's Light International Association. That is a mixture of Buddhism and Australia working together to put on community projects to help the young people away from crime, away from all these negative things that we hear about our young people. We also went to some meetings. A lot of meetings that we went to this year were South African meetings where we would have done excellently well, to the point that I was invited right after I made a presentation, because they were talking about forced marriages, and they were talking about the women running away and stuff. And I made a point to them and saying that every year we focus on the rights of women, and we're not focusing on integrating the men to understand the rights of women. And also we are focusing too much on the women and not forgetting that men are abused. Men are being beaten up. We can't go by the police station because they will be laughed at. And I want to form it across the board that gender equality is not just about the rights of women, but the rights of men as well. And after that, I was invited by the Miss Yvonne Apio Bramble Amolo. She's the Member of Parliament for Switzerland, the Presidential Social Democratic Party of Migrant Zurich. She invited me to speak at a conference, which is the European Minority Parliament Caucus. And the subject is about the pre-conference consultation on the UN Summit on Futures. And my presentation, I was asked to be the speaker on the consultation to do at the United Nations, Shaping the Future, Amplifying Minority, Voice through Political, Traditional, and Youth Leaders for Sustainable Development. And when she saw me, I spoke at one of her meetings. And after we started dialoguing, because she did not know what to make, she said, listen, I need to have your NGO speak at the meeting. I need to have you there. And she did. She called me about 2 days or 3 days ago and said that we got the request, the government, we want you to speak at the conference. So what I did as a right-thinking citizen, I would have extended the courtesy. I asked her to extend the courtesy to the THA, because I do not want to be the person that, I'm going to speak for THA, I'm going to speak for Tobago alone. No. I asked the Honorable Minister to extend the courtesy to the Tobago House of Assembly, to give them being that they were elected in office and being that they're the ones who are running the island of Tobago, giving that person from the THA the opportunity to speak. And there's a part where they're saying the traditional voices through parliamentary stuff. So I said I will extend that, and I did reach out to the Honorable Chief Secretary right away. I called him while he was on an event, and he called me back and we spoke on the phone. He said he will look into it and he will see what he could do, because I don't want to be out here representing the false narrative that I'm in charge of Trinidad or in charge of Tobago. I also wanted to give Tobago that opportunity we are now going to Switzerland. Now we have this conference. The conference is from the 11th to the 15th, but we have to get there from the 9th to the 16th. And this is an opportunity for Tobago now to mark it, because the Honorable Minister, along with other ministers I've met on different platforms, they are coming to Tobago for October Carnival and for Cornucopia as well. So I want to give this, I wanted to extend the courtesy. I did extend the courtesy. I spoke to the Chief Secretary, and I'm waiting for a response, and all information was passed on to him and the person who they will choose to send to this conference alongside myself.
Kosi, you seem to be having a really, really wonderful time where you are, and I can sense and feel your passion as you speak about the issues and you speak about the relationships that you have formed and the fact that you want to involve so many other persons in the relevant and pertinent discussions. So after these discussions, how do you see policies being implemented in the various countries under the UN who are participating in these events?
Well, what we are doing, the delegation that I led, each individual who attended a meeting, they have to write a report. The report must also include how do you use these events to help Trinidad and Tobago. How do you then pass the information on to other NGOs? And that is a must. So when I return back into the country, not very soon, because after I'm finished in Switzerland, I was also invited by the Minister of Culture and the Arts and Tourism of Sierra Leone to come to a youth summit in Sierra Leone. So after I come back from Switzerland, I have to go to Sierra Leone. And then as we were speaking here, I just came off of a conference in South Africa by one of the African ministers who would have invited me. So what is going to happen? We are going to see what we can do to work with other NGOs. The problem is going to be money in terms of putting it on, but I don't think money should be a problem. I think once we call upon the NGOs of Trinidad and Tobago to attend a meeting, and we have small little meetings and stuff with them to pass all the information, and not only passing all the information, is to then now form that NGO base, because presently we are looking at an NGO-based inter-Caribbean organization of funding, where we could come with all the NGOs who wants to be a part, to be a funding arm to help each other in NGO around Trinidad and Tobago. So it is going to be a lot of work. We are seeing in Trinidad and Tobago, especially Tobago, where our young people are defiant and they're not getting opportunities. There is a lot of opportunities outside of Trinidad and Tobago, but we must bring the opportunities back to Trinidad and Tobago, whereby many of our people are leaving to go to the United States and other foreign countries, and we are not understanding that despite leaving, what is your contribution going to be in the next few years? Are you going to come back as a senior citizen and expect to get a pension from Trinidad and Tobago without giving contributions? So I want to make sure that whatever we have learned, the partnerships that we have built with the NGOs, we are going to pass them along, not only to the NGO level, but to the parliamentary level, because as I said, I'm also into politics. So some of these initiatives I will be putting towards my political arena when I skip and jump to that level at that point in time.
Thank you so much, Nkosi, for all this information, as I said, for your passion and your enthusiasm, and I do wish you continued success as you continue out there representing Trinidad and Tobago, your NGO, and the matters and topics that are of importance and relevance. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Nkosi Phillips, Ambassador for TT Youth Will Arise, on the 68th session of the Commission on the Status of Women and Girls. This is where we have to end our conversation this morning, as again we say thank you, but this is not where we end our programming. Of course, we continue on with Tobago Notes, and then we head on over to GMT with Candice Jackson. So we ask that you stay with us, and please, while you stay with us, tell a friend. And as you tell a friend, remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.
truly honored and so very pleased to be here in Tobago. This office here in Tobago marks a momentous milestone in the ongoing efforts of the Procurement Board, the management and the staff of the OPR to ensure that we fulfill the tremendous responsibility that has been entrusted to us, that of ensuring the integrity of public procurement activities and ultimately securing the public interests.
To better serve the island of Tobago, an Office of Procurement Regulation is here, up and running. One might ask, what's the importance of having this office? Having a well-regulated procurement system helps to promote fair competition among suppliers and contractors.
And what this building will represent for us in Tobago will be essentially a facility where central government services that ought to be delivered or performed in Tobago are housed under one roof so that Tobagonians will have easier access to these services.
In the ensuing months, technical teams from Port of Spain will be assigned on a periodic basis to support the operations of the Tobago office in the execution of a planned program of capacity building and technical assistance activities. So I would urge all the divisions of the THE to grasp these opportunities.
The OPR office is located in Crown Point at the Coliseum building.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
My name is Kama Mirage. As a lifelong entrepreneur, I often share the benefit of my experience with our young innovators and small businesses. Just as I strive to guide others, our Constitution must also foster an environment for citizens to thrive. This begins with education catering to diverse learning styles and extends to establishing frameworks that support new enterprise. But are we doing enough? Constitutional reform needs your input by 15 April at constitutionalreform2024.gov.tt. It's your future, your constitution, your voice.
Yo everyone, it's your boy Harry from Authentic Builders General Hardware, located right here in Tobago Local Road, Tobago. That's correct, right here in Tobago. And we are offering you guys the best prices on all hardware material. And if you would like to get your free quotation done, all you have to do is WhatsApp us at 272-1990 and we will give you guys the best prices on all hardware material. That is a guarantee as we are matching or beating any quotations.
Welcome to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, your source for current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad, and the region. With the perfect conversations to complement your morning routine, I am Candace Jackson, and let's get started with the news in 90 seconds. Minority Leader Calvin Morris yesterday reiterated the stance of the PNM regarding the Friendship Connector Road. He highlighted that the party is not opposing the construction, but accused the current THA administration of spreading misinformation among Tobagonians, suggesting otherwise. Morris emphasized that the A&R Robinson International Airport Access Road, initially named, was conceptualized in January 2021 to complement the new airport terminal. He clarified that a Store Bay local road would facilitate traffic flow from the airport until it joined the new road. Up next, PDP political leader and former president of the Public Services Association, PSA, Watson Duke, received criticism for defying a court order during his tenure. The High Court judge, Devendra Rampersad, imposed fines of $35,000 each on Duke and the PSA for contempt of court. The matter was centered around financial irregularities and a failure to hold non-executive elections. Despite orders to hold an annual general conference for budget approval, Duke did not comply before leaving office. Duke and the PSA are required to pay the fines by April 16th, with costs awarded to both parties. And finally, Minister of Energy Stuart Young met with Colin Bain, the Managing Director of President of Methanex Trinidad, to discuss operations in Trinidad and Tobago. During the meeting, Bain and Young discussed Trinidad and Tobago's strategic importance in Methanex's global portfolio, particularly its potential to supply the domestic blended fuel market and global shipping markets. Young reaffirmed the government's commitment to partnering with Methanex and other stakeholders in the energy sector to attract international investments to Trinidad and Tobago. He also shared updates on the government's strategies and initiatives designed to enhance the country's energy sector. And that was the news in 90 seconds. And viewers, getting into our show this morning, for our first segment, we are being joined by a team from the Empower TT, and we're going to be talking about the rollout of that Empower program here in Tobago. It's a program that was birthed under the Ministry of Sport. So we're going to get into all our discussions, and to have that discussions with me this morning, I am being joined by Ms. Shamika Ramlal, and she's the Stakeholder Relations Coordinator out of the Ministry of Sport and Community Development, as well as Mr. Selwyn Lewis, and he's a stakeholder and one of the lead facilitators. So good morning and welcome to you both. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Candice. Good morning, Tobago.
So let's start with first, what is this Empower TT program?
Empower TT is a male empowerment program coming out of the Ministry of Sport and Community Development. It is the brainchild of the Honorable Shamfa Kudjo, Minister of Sport and Community Development. Back when she was Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs in 2019, she would have had the opportunity to give birth to this project. That was simply an idea back in 2017, 2018, just on pen and paper. And this project really was conceptualized from doing her walkabouts in Tobago, in places like Golden Lane and Bethel, Plymouth. And she would remember, with a passion for youth development, as she still does have, she wanted to really curate a program that focused on the development of young people, particularly males. And she would recall back when she was abroad a few years prior to that, she always wanted to do something for men. She wanted to give birth to a Black Diamond project. And growing up, you would hear of so many programs that focus on the development of young women, but very few programs or very few projects you would hear about focusing on how to be a man. Who teaches a boy or a young man growing up how to be a man? And that's where Empower TT would have been birthed. And when she came across the sport and community development, she was able to bring across Empower TT. So Empower TT has 4 components, 4 tenets. The first being the M zones, or the man zones, the male-friendly zones launch talks, where we move from community to community and have conversations. So it's a room or a space filled with men only, and they have conversations on different topics. We have brand ambassadors and masters on board. And the program, did I say that the program focuses on young men 16 to 40 years old? So we go to community centers, we go to bars, we go to basketball courts, places that men gather, places that men are comfortable to have conversation on topics that, you know, men need to have, creating a safe zone for men to talk. The second would be the life skills training component, which Mr. Lewis is the lead facilitator for, his company is the lead facilitator for. And then during that component, they're able to focus on topics like dressing for success, resume writing, dining etiquette, and so many other topics. And then we move on to the third component, which is the life coaching and career guidance. We bring on board a psychologist, a life coach, and a social worker. And they have one-on-one sessions with the young men where they're able to assist them with chartering their course for their career development. And in some cases, young men simply don't know what they want to do, what they want to be. And that's where, you know, we bring on board the life coach and career guidance officer and so on to assist them with that. And the fourth component being the mentorship and apprenticeship, where they are deployed into, you ask a young man, what do you want to be? What are you interested in? And you would have young men say, I want to be an electrician, I want to be a plumber, I want to be a pilot. And then we pair them with a professional in that particular field. And they have an apprenticeship of about 8 to 10 weeks, sorry.
Great. So now, I mean, you've already been rolling this out. Has it already been rolled out in Tobago or in Trinidad at this point in time?
For this cycle, it has been rolled out in Tobago already. We started on the 25th of March in Tobago, and we officially launched the program in Tobago this afternoon.
Great. I mean, from those conversations that you've been having, especially, because I'm very interested in that, because we know that our young men, especially, I mean, they face a whole lot of challenges, and they are unfortunately the biggest contributors to some of the social ills within our society right now. When you're getting in there and getting into their spaces, and you're getting down to, you know, just what are the issues that are causing them to behave in certain manners, you know, what are you seeing? What are you experiencing?
So thanks again, Candice, for having us this morning. I'll start right off the back by talking about a particular young man. He said, sir, I don't really need much money, you know. I just want my daddy to call me. So sometimes when you see young men acting out, we could simply stand on the side and say, they're just bad. But there's something called trauma that is real. And the life skills component, which is the component of the program that I'm leading through my organization, the BACAM, we go through a series of topics with them that in the first instance creates a space that gets them comfortable enough to talk about how they truly feel. Why society has rejected them. Why do my parents say to my sister, stay inside, we need to protect you, but doesn't really care about what goes on with me? So in some instances, a lot of young boys, they grow up with the mentality that they have to fend for themselves. And therefore, we leave them in the hands of other guys who may not have the right idea in terms of how to bring them up properly, you know? So one of the key things in the Empower program in terms of, and you mentioned it earlier, in terms of, unfortunately, when you look at the front page, in the media, whether social media or otherwise, we are seeing that a lot of these young males are central actors to some of the devastating things that are happening in the country.
Yes.
This may sound strange, but I also have an agenda. If you've noticed, I have my red, white, and black one. What is it to be patriotic on this? Sitting back and just saying, crime is getting worse, is getting worse, is getting worse. In my opinion, patriotism is really about us citizens playing our part. So I was very, very happy
when I was asked to partner with the ministry to play my part. I mean, I've been doing this type of work for at least 30 years. So immediately, like even I'm in Tobago right now, I want to know what's going on in the streets. I was right by Jade Monkey Ashes last night, looking, seeing what young men are doing, what's the pulse, what's the vibes. And a lot of times when you get that opportunity to talk to them one-on-one, you realize what they really want is a chance.
And what, I mean, did you get that opportunity last night?
Definitely.
And what were some of the responses that you got?
In fact, talking to some young men, they were asking things like, how can I get involved? I told them off the bat, how can I get involved? Where's the venues? What kind of, I like, in fact, what I realized a lot, electrical seems to be a buzz kind of thing for a lot of young men right now. I have an uncle, he used to do electrical, but I don't really have the skill, I don't have any qualifications. And that is exactly what Empower is doing. It's setting you up in the first instance. That's why we do life skills, because if it is by the time we place them as interns, we'd want to know that the environment that they're in, their deportment, the way they carry about themselves, that's up to speed at that point. But I feel very hopeful. I'm very, very enthusiastic about the potential of the program. We did it before in 2022, well, at least when I came on board in 2022. And today, we still have a lot of young men who are still employed with those persons who took them on as interns.
Now, I mean, one of the things that a lot of people, I mean, not just men, but just young people in general, they need that constant mentorship, you know, and we see these programs coming up every now ever so often. Something happens and you get some stakeholders on board and it goes on for a few months. But what is a long-term goal for this Empower program to ensure that it can continue impacting and it can, there's that sort of, that consistency for our young men?
I'm happy that you asked that, Candice, because last evening we had our stakeholder consultation in Tobago, and that was one of the topics that we would have spoken about with the stakeholders. And the continuity, yes, Empower TT, the program has its part to play, and Empower TT, a cycle is roughly 3 to 4 months, and we're hoping that after this cycle we can have another, because this is our second cycle. We also believe that each person, each stakeholder that comes on board, each person, each citizen has their part to play and have to carry the Empower TT, even if it's not the program, the Empower TT identity. So within our within their communities, we ask that our masters and brand ambassadors do things that, so you have a community group, you have your M zones within your community group, and we are seeing this already taking place where the masters and brand ambassadors are implementing and have initiatives that are very similar to Empower TT that focus on the issues that young men face and create, just cultivating that safe space for men to have real talk, real discussions.
So you're having that launch this evening. Where is it happening?
So the launch takes place at 5 p.m. this afternoon at the Pigeon Point Heritage Pavilion. And yeah, we start at 5 p.m., 5 to 8 p.m. this afternoon.
And then how can people get involved?
So persons can get involved from following our social media pages. You can reach out to us on our Empower TT, that's MPOWERTT, social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We have a YouTube channel where we usually upload our M zones, so persons can check out all of our sessions there, and they can also contact us at the Ministry of Sports and Community Development, and at 303-4663.
All right, great. I want to thank you so much both for being on with us, and I have to say continue the work that you guys have started, and we hope and we pray that, you know, that some impact can be had so we can change some of the things that are happening within our society for the better.
Thank you very much, Candice.
All right, viewers, well, we got to go for a quick break, but don't worry, we've got a whole lot more coming up for you on GNT, so don't go anywhere.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear my neighbor. 60,000 people strong.
At JK JK Tech, we bring technology to your doorstep. From cutting-edge laptops to reliable printers, we've got it all. Nationwide delivery and a new website for easy online ordering. JK Tech is your one-stop shop for your electronics and computer needs. Carrying top brands such as Acer, Samsung, HP, and much more. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at JKTechTT or visit jktechtt.com. Quality tech is just a click away. JK Tech. Evaluate your shopping experience, your tech, your way. Call or WhatsApp 383-2651. Shop smart, shop JK Tech.
The best place to stay in Tobago is at Thorn's Place with rates starting as low as 200 TT. Call or WhatsApp 745-7306 or 682-8676. We are located uptown Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port. Remember, at Thorn's Place, our aim is to make your stay safe and affordable.
Conversations to what's been going on in the tourism industry, particularly that of what's been going on out there in our Bucca Reef Marine Park. And you would have seen the videos over the Easter weekend of Coast Guard officers boarding reef boats and, you know, doing their inspections and so on, and it did create a bit of conversation, a bit of stir. So we're going to be speaking this morning with the owner of Frankie Tours. And are you still the president of the Reef Boat Association?
I'm vice president.
Vice president of the Reef Boat Association.
I'm PRO.
All right, great. So good morning and welcome to you, Mr. Frank. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago and the listening public. Good to be here.
Great. So first of all, tell me, were you guys part of that conversation with the changes to how reef boat operators operate on the Bucca Reef Marine Park? And just, you know, were you aware that the Coast Guard would be accompanying the patrol and so on?
Yes, we were part of the project. Excuse me. Yeah, we had a few meetings before, so we know that this is what's going to happen. But it's customary that every year, once there's a big holiday, you get the influx of police, Coast Guard, and all the other stakeholders involved in the marine park. So yeah, we expected it coming and we know it was coming.
So when it happened, I mean, and we saw the reaction from the public when the videos went viral of these Coast Guard officers with firearms and so on, with their artillery coming on board the vessels. You know, what was the conversation like amongst the operators?
Well, I have no problems with the Coast Guard doing their job. However, I do have problems with them coming with big guns on the boat. I mean, this is tourism. There's no criminality taking place. Leave those big guns for when you're doing offshore patrols and all that. If you need to come on the boat and you need to carry a sidearm, that's fine. But you don't want to wave around big guns, especially big machine guns in front of kids and people who is coming from abroad. You don't want these people to feel any way threatened or feel like if they're not in safety hands. So it's a consideration the police and the Coast Guard has to take into place that do not at any time board any vessel with these type of big weapons on them. So kudos to the Coast Guard and Coast Guard for doing a good job over the season, but I am not going to support the fact that they are on board, especially with heavy equipment, while people is conducting tours.
And then, I mean, were you able to even have, as an association, were you able to even have that conversation with the Coast Guard after that incident happened, or the THA?
No, I have not had the chance as yet. It has been pretty busy season for us. I know the East overall was not that busy, but it was pretty busy for us. So no, I didn't have the conversation as yet. Actually, this is the first time I'm having any type of communication concerning the incident that happened.
And then, you know, just give us an idea of just how did it affect anything on the ground with the visitors? You know, what were the reactions even from your regular clients and so on?
Well, of course, it will cause some conservative, and some people would be affected by it. But lo and behold, it was actually in one sector and it did not affect the entire public. For those who saw the information online, they of course would have some type of comment, but it's something that can be easily dealt with. I mean, we deal with people all the time, so you could deal with it from that point of view.
Now, I want to talk a little bit, of course, I mean, just even as the management of the Buku Reef Marine Park and just making sure that we have a bit more control and making sure we're balancing our tourism with the impact on the environment. I mean, where are those, how are those discussions going, first of all, and how has that changed?
You know, I'm really happy with that question. The balancing act is a very delicate one.
Yes.
Tourism is technical, while the government has this responsibility to maintain law and order. However, in order to keep the balance, you have to make sure that whatever you're putting in place does not affect the people coming here. Remember, people is coming here to have a good time. So they're coming here to party, to drink, to lime, and if you put too much restriction on that, then there's no need for them to come here. So you have to get that central balance. There are people, some people in the system who think that the law should be hard and fast concerning what people do on boats and what people do on an island pool and what people do on the reef at the whole. But if you put the law too hard, then you scare away the public that you want to bring. So you can't have it in a way where it's too much of pressure applied to the public and does not have some leniency. You have to balance it. So it's very important that we have that balance properly. Going forward, I know we'll have a lot more meetings, and I am going to actually make my state completely thorough concerning this. Because, all right, we have big boats, so we into the party thing and we into the lineman thing. We have to have a control where too much people is not on the boat, and I'm totally with the police for that. If you have too much people, then you have problems. But at the same time, the few people that you have on board must be able to enjoy themselves sensible. You can't have a policy that we have a new policy that says no alcohol on the reef. People, they're on vacation. You don't want them to feel restricted. I mean, this is policy that is in the making, but these are things that is seriously going to affect our tourism and our people. And I'm not just talking about international and local tourism from Trinidad. It's going to affect us as Tobagonian. Because when we want to go out and have a good time, we don't want to go out there and somebody say, oh no, you can't walk with your cooler. You can't do this. You can't go on top of a boat. So they have to have that balance good.
So then how do we get that balance? What, in your mind though, what is that balance? Because of course we do really have to be careful about not impacting the environment in a negative way.
Well, it has to do with communication. I mean, we the stakeholders know what has to be done. But remember, this is not just a one-sided story. The people in authority have their side as well.
Yes.
The environmental people have their side as well. So we just have to have the center where all sides can fit comfortably, not impacting the tourism in a negative way. You know, all right, let's put into context. 10 years ago, around Easter, you will have 20 big organizations coming from Trinidad to have some type of big function in Tobago. Today, if you have 2, you have plenty. The reason for that is there's too much red tape, too much of things that is complicating them from coming. So there's no need for them to come here. They're just going to take it somewhere else. What it does, it damages tourism for us. So we should have learned our lesson from the years gone by not to make the same mistake. There are some people who are bent on the fact that, oh, well, this has to be a policy and this has to be a law. You understand? But you have to think a little bit outside of the box. Think that it's not just about a law. We're not living in some country where we don't have law and order. We have law and order here. So we should be able to balance this in a sensitive way where all parties could work together.
And then what about even just the fellas that sell the tickets and so on? You know, how is that change going along? Because we know the discomfort that you face, even as just a local, when you go to the beach and you're bombarded, and making sure that you can put some law in order where that is concerned.
Definitely. You know, I have always said from the beginning of time that this is not a nice face of tourism and this has to change. But I'm only one person. And I don't have the power to change it. But this has to change. It's not nice to come to the beach and somebody's up in your face and, blocking you. No. I'm not supporting that at all. It has to change. But as I said, it's not something that I can do personally. I can talk about it as much as I want. But at the end of the day, it has to take the authorities to say, okay, enough is enough. And this is where we balance this. Before, things like hustling and touting go on all over the world. Anywhere you go in the world, you can see it. From London to Cairo, you name it. The thing about it is, again, the balance. The balance is
Having
important.
that balance is important.
You need to know, or train them so that they're not just aggressive in their approach, but they're sensitive, friendly, and then it works for everybody. And so again, the balancing act is there.
And then wrapping up, is the Reef Boat Operators Association, are you guys working with the THA? What's the attitude, in spite of all of these things that are happening?
Oh, we actually have good attitude. We have good relationship. We do have a lot of meetings and we do have a lot of communication. We constantly talk with each other, constantly, to make things work and make things work. But before I close off, I just want to mention something. I know the law officers came into a lot of bad publicity concerning being on boat with big guns. But not all police officers or Coast Guards are bad. I had an incident last night on a boat where I actually lost a large sum of money. And there was a whole team of police officers there. There was about, maybe, 40 of them, 50 of them, Sunset Cruise. This money dropped off in the middle of the crowd. And I want to commend this officer, Officer Badu. I think he's from the GVU unit. He brought that money to his superior, who then asked, of course, I'm the captain, asked, who has lost this money. So I just wanted to bring this forward that there are really good officers out there. Some of them who, they do not get enough recognition, and they should be recognized. These guys are important in our society, and it goes to show that they're doing a good job.
Yes.
Regardless of what, the money is not the importance here. The importance is that this guy was so genuine and so kind to bring it to his superior officer, to give it back to somebody who has lost it. So I just want to big this guy up and let you know that it was very appreciated, and it gave me a very high confidence in this police officer. So Officer Badu, wherever you are, you might not be hearing me today, but somebody out there would be hearing, and I'd like to big you up today. All right? GBU unit, Officer Badu.
All right, I want to thank you so much, Frankie, and we're looking forward for more of these conversations as we try to figure out the right kind of balance as to how we operate out there on the Buku Reef to ensure we could still have a viable tourism product. So thank you so much.
Most welcome. Thank you.
All right, well, viewers, we got to go for a quick break, but we'll be back right after this. Don't go anywhere.
I say, thanks a favor, to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong.
Inner Health, number 13B, Portmore, Scarborough, Tobago, with over 25 years experience, offering services in and not limited to microscopic blood analysis, reflexology, and the sale of a wide range of organic herbal products used to supplement thyroid, lymphatic, heart, kidney, and brain health, and the male and female reproductive systems. Come and chat with us. Remember, your health is your wealth.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, now we are turning our conversation to former Commissioner of Police, Mr. Gary Griffith. So, we've got a whole lot of things to talk about, but a special good morning and welcome to you, Mr. Griffith, and welcome.
Good morning, Tobago. Fine, thank you. My pleasure.
Great to have you. All right, so now we're talking a bit about the Commissioner of Police and the 10-year review. Start us off.
Okay, 10-year review, Gary Griffith. And I took over, there was 14% public trust and confidence in the police service. When I left, it was 59%. A year after I left, it was 8%. tenure in Gary Griffith. It was the highest reduction in violent crime in 17 years. It was my last full year with 342 murders in comparison to over 600 a year after I left. 89% of the population were very comfortable with me as commissioner, had no concern and wanted me to remain. 89%, which was the highest poll ever taken by anyone in public trust and belief in the individual. I got 72 out of 75 of the assessments done annually by the Police Service Commission being good and very good and excellent. Yet a Minister of National Security saw that as a failure. That sums up the tenure review.
Well, I mean, you've been attracted quite a lot of attention from the government, and to the point where we're seeing press conferences dedicated solely to you and just to commenting on certain things, and specifically, you know, some things that happened under your tenure. And I mean, of course, you know, the circumstances that led to the closure of sorts or the end of sorts and so on. What can you tell us about that? Because, you know, it has attracted quite a lot of a conversation in the last few days.
You think? Well, yes, definitely. That press conference was done because a prime minister who was in Ireland on vacation discovered that Gary Griffith is going up as the candidate for St. Joseph, and polls being conducted shows that PNM is going to be annihilated in St. Joseph because of me actually becoming the candidate there in St. Joseph. So that was the panic button. Remember, PNM has 22 seats. So now with 22, they've now lost one. So that's 22 down to 21. So that's one down, one more to go. So they're seeing themselves, this has been 50% of the avenue towards them getting thrown out of government. So the panic button was pressed, and that's what this was all about. Because remember, this is something that took place 3 years ago. Amy Brown had this so-called letter from the US 3 years ago. Why bring it up now? This is a totally politically manufactured, desperate attempt to see if we could try to throw mud on Gary Griffith. And if you look at today's, I think it's the Express editorial, it slammed, the whole country is seeing it for what it is. It was totally politically manufactured. It was littered with lies, misleading information, and we could run through the whole thing. When Amy Brown stated that the US decided to shut down SORT because of the death of 2 persons. Up to now, not one police officer has been arrested. So you have not arrested a police officer based on something, but the US decided to shut it down because of that. And if that is the case, there have been over 100 police killings since I left. You would have seen the MOVA shootings and so forth. And this is not to state that all of these different units, the GB, the IATF, the MOPS, the Northern Division, should be shut down, but there must be investigations, and if police are culpable, they will be removed. But they don't shut down a whole unit because of one isolated incident. And likewise, Coast Guard, there was the incident with Coast Guard with persons being killed whilst in the control of Coast Guard. You want to shut down the Coast Guard? Let's look at the front page of today's Guardian. The front page of today's Guardian, a prisoner was killed. Whilst being, isn't it going to blame the prison commissioner? Is it the US up down and demand that they shut down the prison service? So it shows the stupid of Amy Brown. And the media doesn't ask these questions. They say, but if it is that the US shut down SORT because of an incident involving 2 persons, up to now, not 1 person has been arrested after 3 years. Why is the US going to have no concern about the front page of today's Guardian with the prisoner or the Coast Guard officers who with the persons that died under their watch? Or the 100+ murders that took place in the police killings after. So it showed that they tried something and it failed. What I can tell you is the same US government, to me, when they met with me, they voiced their utmost concern and disgust by this government as it pertains to their close affiliation with certain countries who can be deemed communist countries. So if everyone wants to speak about meetings, I will start speaking about meetings. The US government wants them out. You would have seen an actual video that was done with the last US ambassador where he stated that Trinidad and Tobago is blessed to have someone as me as a commissioner of police. No US official ever gave such commendation to anyone in Trinidad and Tobago like that. So for Amy Brown to try to pretend that I affected US relations, I think I have cemented US relations more than anything else. And as it pertains to the SSA, Fitzgerald Hines and Keith Rowley continues to show their ignorance in understanding national security to say that cabinet gave approval for SSA persons to have firearms. That is a lie. Politicians can't give approval for persons to get firearms. That only comes from the Constitution. It only comes from the law. It only comes from the authorization of the Commissioner of Police. Persons in the SSA for years gone by, over a decade plus, acquired firearms and had firearms before this cabinet gave approval. Cabinet can't give approval. And because there will be persons in the SSA who would be present police officers, members of the defense force, or they may have a FUEC, a firearm users employee certificate that gives them the authorization to carry a firearm. The audacity of this incompetent government, who are clueless on national security, to believe that SSA should not carry firearms. The SSA is equivalent to the CIA. Could anyone think that the CIA will not carry firearms? The SSA is supposed to guard their installations. The SSA has to be going in volatile areas, 2 o'clock in the morning, sitting down in a vehicle, trying to pinpoint and get photographs to get information of criminal elements. And they're not supposed to carry firearms. It shows the stupidity of these persons who call themselves politicians in this PNM government.
Now, Mr. Griffith, now before I want to talk a little bit more about that whole SSA situation, I want to sort of deal with this whole issue of the sort. And, you know, it's sort of when Minister Hines brought up the issues, you know, he brought up a situation that has been quite traumatic for the country because it was attached to the murder of Andrea Barrett. And, you know, that was something that touched everybody in the country. And, you know, I know a lot of people are not too sure how they feel now about all of that coming back up. But could you tell me a little bit about what really happened? Was the information given by the minister the truth, or if it was not, you know, what's your version of it?
Well, my version of it is that the minister and this PNM government continues to look after and put focus on the rights of criminal elements over that of law-abiding citizens. I'm not saying that criminal elements should not have rights, but let's look at it. When I spoke, firstly, when I continue to fight to give law-abiding citizens firearms, they were upset about it, and they decided instead to stop law-abiding citizens from getting firearms. 2, I was putting emphasis to try to get a border protection unit to get mobile scanners for us to deal with illegal firearms. As soon as I left, they ignored that border protection unit and they shut down the mobile scanners, allowing more illegal firearms to come into the country to kill innocent people. 3, when I mentioned the fact that we should have a law amended that if anyone has an assault weapon that is illegal, they should be charged and be deemed a terrorist so that they will have 25 years in prison immediately. Have it as a capital offense. Make sure that persons who brought in that weapon, persons who protected these individuals would all be deemed terrorists, and that will start cleaning out these individuals who have the type of weapons that can kill 35 persons in 3 seconds. Keith Rowley automatically shut it down by stating Gary Griffith is trying to allude that everybody must be a terrorist, which was a lie. He continues to lie. So they had a problem with me with trying to find a way for criminal elements with automatic weapons to get to be deemed terrorists so that they will not get bail easily as they do now. And then 4, let's look at this same situation here with Andrea Barrett, and you continue to fight and be concerned about these 2 individuals who had over 68 charges for all type of sexual misconduct, rape, sexual actions, grievous bodily harm on females. 60. And you never once bothered about the concern of Andrea Barrett, her family, the 60 women who kept walking the streets, being traumatized, wondering if these 2 men who were charged for rape and were given bail within 24 hours could come back out onto the streets to finish them off. So where's the concern about the law-abiding citizens? But you do a press conference about these 2 individuals who had 60 different charges for raping women and getting bail the very next day. And you're very concerned about how that they died, and you have a right to, but we'll never have any concern about the 60 women who have suffered, be concerned about the thousands of people who have been killed and how their families have felt. You're always concerned about the criminal elements and their rights. And that says a lot about this government. As I continue to say, the scales of justice, my intention of getting back into government and into politics is to make sure that the scales of justice can be tilted towards the benefit of the law-abiding citizens than the criminal elements. And again, going back to the SSA, to the situation, as I said, with SORT, in this situation, not one person has been charged, not one person has been arrested. So on what grounds is Fitzgerald Hines trying to accuse and label SORT? And SORT was the front line. That is number 5, by the way. SORT was the main avenue that was pegging back criminals, arresting major criminal elements, put an end to kidnapping. SORT ended kidnapping by arresting kidnappers whilst they still had victims. That was never done before. They were the front line in stopping human trafficking, child prostitution. You shut that down. You have to be evil, actually evil, to have a unit like that was so instrumental to peg back criminals, and your first thing you wanted to do was to shut it down. And it's because certain individuals in government misled the US and gave the US false information about SWORD. Because as I said, the US would not shut down SWORD just because of one incident that took place. Because if that is the case, as I said, there have been over 100 police killings. Think about it. Why didn't shut down the IATF, the GB, the MOPS, the Northern Division? Why didn't shut down the Coast Guard? Why don't shut down the prison service? Because of the exact thing that took place that's on the front page of today's Guardian. So it shows the lies, the deceit, and the double standard of this government.
Was there that meeting? Were you aware of that meeting that Minister Brown talked about on Tuesday regarding a delegation from the U.S. Embassy and his office about that whole situation?
Well, and that's the interesting point. If there was such a meeting, it wouldn't have taken place yesterday or last week. This would have been 3 years ago. Why are you bringing up the meeting now? You know why? Gary Griffith announced that he was going up for St. Joseph. That is what pressed the panic button on them. As soon as Gary said he's going up for St. Joseph, they started panicking. Because if you're aware of this meeting, why didn't bring this up 3 years ago? Because I would have brought to the attention of the country that the PNM government is they are manipulating, they are lying to the US government. They were giving information to the US government that caused the US government to write that. The US government will not shut down and say that they are not supporting a unit because of one incident. Because if that is the case, as I said, I would have then said, why didn't shut down? You remember the Mova shootings where 3 persons were killed at the hands of the police. That was they had ITF, they had GB, they had MOPS, they had the Northern Division. We've had dozens and dozens of police killings. Why the US didn't shut down all of those units? Because the PNM government continued to mislead the US government and pump lies and misinformation. Look at it, the front page of today's papers. So that is why Amy Brown kept it. He knew he couldn't have said it, but he got a call from Ireland Prime Minister saying, look, Gary going up for St. Joseph. Fitzy, Emery, go on, do a press conference and just attack Gary. And if you look at today's Express editorial, it has exposed them. It has backfired miserably. This has been seen as nothing more than a political manufactured witch hunt with absolutely no evidence, no documents, nothing whatsoever. Even going with the SSA lies, trying to say that I gave authorization for people in SSA to carry firearms. That is a lie. Why would I, as a commissioner of police, I have nothing better to do than to give an approval for SRP in SSA to get firearms? The SSA has their own armory, and that armory was given to the SSA, guess by who? The PNM government. The PNM government gave SSA the authority to have all of these weapons that they claim that was being used by this pastor. So what the PNM have done, the one thing they're good at is to say the same lie over and over and hope that persons will believe it. They have not.
So, Mr. Griffith, just we gotta go for a break in a second, but if I understand you clearly, is that you were not aware of that meeting that happened 3 years ago?
No, and that says a lot. So if it is that I was commissioner of police, you will think that I would be part of that meeting. Now, if it is I was no longer commissioner of police, the meeting could take place. But as I said, the US would not call a meeting to shut down a unit because, say that they're not supporting a unit because of an incident that took place where the matter was still being investigated. Because if they do that, why they didn't meet with Amy Brown to shut down all of the several other police units that have been involved in police killings? The only reason that meeting took place is because the PNM government pumped false information to the US, and the US unfortunately had to work with the lies because the PNM government wanted SWORD shut down because obviously SWORD was affecting big criminal enterprise, and there are persons in the government that benefit from big criminal enterprise.
All right, thank you, Mr. Griffith, but we're not done with you yet. We got to go for a quick break, but we'll be right back and we'll continue these discussions when we come back. So don't go anywhere, viewers.
No place like home, home, home.
Oh, I love Tobago, baby.
When we outside, it's an ocean of love. All that we align to the stars up above. Let we dance now, take a chance now with me. And we go jump till morning. Look, the moon tell them we not leaving. Till the last drop of bacchanal is madness in the capital. So I feel like I'm running tongue again. Jump and shake the ground again. We with all my friends and them. No place like home. Home. We jump till the moon come down. Cause we who the stars shine on. Play a mass and break away. Freedom in with DNA.
It's March Madness at Standard Distributors Limited. Get $100 back for every $1,000 you spend. Major appliance deals on Frigidaire, Hyacinth, Samsung, and more. Plus, same day financing options available. Don't miss out. Sale ends March 31st. Standard, never beaten on quality and prices.
Everyone, it's your boy Harry here from Authentic Car Clinic, located right here in Tobago at Tobago Local Road. You can WhatsApp us or call us at 366-4173.
Viewers, we are chatting this morning with former Commissioner of Police, Mr. Gary Griffith, who has been the focus of attention from the government in recent times, especially as it relates to, crime and some of the things that have gone on in our space. Now, Mr. Griffith has been blamed quite a lot for for giving out a lot of firearm users licenses during his tenure as Commissioner of Police. However, it's just very interesting that the conversation is on just how many people have gotten these firearms, how many firearms they have gotten, but we are yet to have any sort of conversation as to how are we dealing with the way that the criminal element is accessing illegal firearms. Because the truth is that no matter how many restrictions you place on people legally acquiring firearms, it's not stopping the criminal element from getting their hands on these guns, and this is what they're using to perpetrate violence in our society. So, Mr. Griffith, I don't know if you have any insight as to why is the conversation so focused on people's legal acquisition of firearms as opposed to stopping the illegal gun trade?
The reason being, as I mentioned, this government is inclined towards assisting and looking after the rights of criminals rather than law-abiding citizens. As I mentioned, look at what happened with the Andrea Barra situation. Press conference over the concern, and is there right? Over 2 persons who were charged with over 60 different matters for sexual criminal acts on women. No press conference about Andrea Barrett and the other people who have suffered. You want to shut down SWORD, you mislead the US and lie to them to shut down SWORD because it was instrumental in stopping kidnapping, stopping home invasions, arresting criminal elements, and you wanted the US to shut that, get an excuse to justify shutting it down. And it's the same thing with firearms. They have gone out, they have done nothing to deal with putting an end to illegal firearms. They have made no statement as to what they intend to do. No plans, no policies, no unit, no technology. I drafted a proper system for a border protection unit 4 years ago. Keith Rowley ignored it. It seems that this government was concerned that we can put an end to illegal weapons entering the country. The US told us that over 95% of illegal weapons enter through legitimate ports of entry. I acquired mobile scanners to be able to assist. They shut it down after I left. So it seems that this government is either aided and abetting, sympathetic, or involved heavily in the criminal underworld. And that could only be, it can't be incompetence. Because when you look at the other side of the coin, with legal firearms, which is there to protect, that is all they speak about. So they have no interest about stopping illegal firearms, and all they speak about is stopping law-abiding citizens from getting legal firearms. You either have to be a criminal or incompetent as a politician to operate in that manner. And going back now to the legal firearms, what Keith Rowley again showed his misleading the country by stating there's a government policy pertaining to firearms. And you don't say, but he is a liar. That is a lie. There's no such thing as government policy. There's a law, and you adhere to the law. What happened is commissioners before me were too lazy to do their job, which is what caused the backlog of 25,000 applications. 25,000. And then after me, now commissioners are being sued because they're too lazy to even sign their name, and then telling the judge, well, I'm busy, I have lots of things to do, and the judge had to put her in a place. So out of 25,000, I was able to, out of 3 years, approve 6,000 out of 25,000. Many I did because we went through a stringent process. Out of that 6,000, 3,000 odd were for law enforcement officials, past and present, soldiers, sailors, customs, immigration, fire, prisons, police officers, to protect them and their family when they get home. That is a problem. The other 3,000 were to civilians who needed it, who acquired it based on a stringent process, background check, their spouse approving it, making sure that they can secure it properly. And that's for the small businessman, the farmer, the hunter, the sports person. You have a problem with that? And out of that 6,000, during my 3-year period, not one was lost, not one was stolen, not one was used for a crime. So it showed that we had a proper system. So increasing the numbers doesn't mean that it's going to make it a greater likelihood that it can affect. And not one of these things, as I said, was used to commit a crime. The lies by the government in stating, well, all these persons being killed, it could be by legal firearms. Legal firearms. That is a lie, because ballistic testing is done on everybody when there's a shooting, and the ballistic testing can pinpoint if that came from a legal firearm. So those were all lies. In fact, dozens upon dozens of lives were saved by me issuing these legal firearms. And then they lied again by stating that we were giving it out to everyone. That is a lie. If I give out 3,000 civilians firearms out of 1.4 million, I think that's 0.3% of the population, 0.3%. And you have a problem with that? But between yourself and your minister and an acting commissioner, they asked me for over 60 firearms for their and their friends in high places. So it's okay for the rich and famous to get firearms, but when I was giving it to the small man, you had a problem with it. And then what made it worse is you as a prime minister harassed me to get a firearm dealership for somebody in Tobago so that hundreds of more firearms can be sold. So it showed the hypocrisy. How could anybody want to support a political party and a prime minister like that? How?
And then how does this whole situation now, this lawsuit and all these things are coming out with Mr. Brent Thomas, how does this tie into this the issue of firearms here and the way we deal with it in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, again, the Brent Thomas matter was desperation. And I tell you, as the first day I get in the government, I'm going to make sure that there's an inquiry and somebody is going to make a jail. Because no police officer has the authority to leave the jurisdictional waters, the territorial waters of Trinidad and Tobago without the approval of the Minister of National Security or a senior government official in the National Security Council. And the reason I can say that is I'm the only person who was a security minister and a commissioner of police in this country. So I know the role and function of both. So the 3 police officers who went to abduct Brent Thomas could not have left Trinidad and Tobago unless a politician gave approval, which means that that politician could very well be charged for aiding and abetting in an abduction. And that is where there is a massive cover-up. Thankfully, by Brent Thomas now making this to Barbados and suing Barbados, Barbados will now bring out the information to state that Minister so-and-so gave the information and the approval for these police officers to leave Trinidad and Tobago. And then if it is that this goes down as an abduction, it means the police officers hopefully I will put plea bargain in, find out who is the minister who gave them that authorization, and that person should be charged for aiding and abetting in kidnapping. But that was the desperation that took place by the PNM. They could not find anyone. So you had 25,000 applicants for firearms. You had 6,000 that received. You had 7,000 police officers, you had over 20 firearm dealers, and not one was arrested for anything. Yet they continue to lie to speak about a massive, well-oiled criminal industry. But after 4 years, not one person has been charged, not one person has been arrested, not one person has been held, except Brent Thomas. And the reason they did that was because of desperation. They needed to hold somebody. And the judge then said, they cannot believe that something like this would have taken place, and that the officers who did this are still on active duty.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time this morning, so we're going to have to leave the conversation right there. But I want to thank you so much, Mr. Griffith, for being on with us and to clearing up some of the air and some of the things that are floating around in the space.
My pleasure. Take care.
All right,